Okay, so I want to show how I do my basic sculpting. And first we will have to prepare our meshes. So I just want to make sure that my cube is relatively the same size as a hammer. So I'm going to just press S to scale it down to maybe 0.5 meters. And I'm going to just apply my scale with Control A and apply. And now it's applied. And when you have your object selected, we can go to object mode and sculpt mode. Now, before I do, let me just apply a short bevel. So I'm just going to edit mode and pressing Ctrl B and scrolling my mouse wheel up, maybe to around this much. And then I will first start by voxel remeshing. Go over here to remesh. And first you can try a quick one. So I'll try a normal remesh and see how it looks. Usually you would have to go pretty low in your value. Right now, if I were to just go to overlays and check my statistics, you'll see that it's pretty less. Usually you will need around at least maybe 100k plus. So maybe I would try 0.001. Usually, depending on your overall scale of your object, it might be something bigger like 0.1, but just try going down slowly and try remeshing again. So at 0.001 for me is 1 million, which is actually quite a lot, but it's more than enough for now. When you want to sculpt, and let me just bring in my reference as well. So maybe I'll just drag this corner down and I'll just switch this into an image editor. And now I'll drag and drop my image reference into this. So once you have it, you can use any reference images that you want. Usually I would go on Pinterest and just check other stylized sculpts or maybe just real life rock or metal material for reference. But for now, I'll just put a previous project of the hammer. And now I want to start by showing you how I make these little scrapes. So I use the scrape brush, and if you want to assign a shortcut to it, you would right click and do a add shortcut to scrape. So assign shortcut and just press the number 1. That's what I use. And for number 2, I use the draw sharp. Now, for the settings, the basic one are actually pretty good. You can definitely scrape it really hard, and usually I would turn the strength on pretty high, and you would already get a pretty nice result. And usually whenever I'm sculpting, I would turn on my cavity by going to my matte cap, just switching to this matte cap for now, turning on cavity, and usually I'll just turn the ridge and valley up a bit like so. You'll see just slowly, we definitely will have a pretty nice texture to begin with. And other than that, I'll show you how I use my own custom alphas to get more of a result that I like. So I would just go over here in my brush, and while I have the scrape selected, you'll see that we're in a scrape brush. And for the textures, I'll hit new. And while it's new, I'll go to this properties panel over here, and I'll just open and create the alpha. So if you have downloaded your project files, you can definitely find it as well. I guess I have to open it, and this will be the alpha that we have. And let me see how it works for now. So it looks a bit weird, and that's because we actually need to go back to our tool over here, and we need to change the mapping from tile to view plane. And also, I also like to change the fall off from smooth to custom, and make sure that you delete the first handle. So one of them, just select the dot and press X to remove them. And the second one, I'll move it around here, and I'll set this one to a vector handle. And what it does is that it'll make it a lot sharper. So if I were to try to sculpt on it now, it's definitely a lot stronger, and you definitely have a really nice rocky sculpt going on over here. So I definitely tried to get the corners a lot, and the bevels, I tried to get that part as well. A little bit, like so. And if it's too strong, you can definitely turn your strength down as well and just play with it. If you use the shift key, you can smooth it a tiny bit and just sculpt on it again. Usually, I would not recommend to cut away from the silhouette too much because you have to keep the overall shape of the low poly mesh as well. So make sure that when you're cutting into it, don't cut into it too much. Now, another thing is that I like to build my mesh up with clay strips. For example, there is a slight texture around here maybe. And what you would do is you just build it up with clay strips. And usually I would set the strength super low, maybe to around 0.1. And I would set the spacing to something a bit lower, like 1% maybe. And then I would just an even lower strength, to be honest. And I would just slowly just start slightly tapping on it. And usually I won't fill the whole rock. I'll just maybe go like a 70 or 30% and go back to the scrape and just try to cut away at it just slowly and not too much, but enough to leave some kind of a mark. And if you feel like the alphas are a bit too strong, you would just hold the shift key and you can just smooth it a bit and try scraping again. So this is definitely one texture that I really like. And other than that, I also make little cuts on the mesh. So you can probably not see it too much, but over here, you can definitely see that there's a little cut. And for that, I use the draw sharp brush. Now for the draw sharp, just make sure to set your fall off to a linear. And let me just press F to decrease the brush size for a bit. And let me just try first. So it is a bit too big. So I'm going to just decrease the brush size with F and try again. So this one is definitely already pretty good. Just make sure that for the radius, you turn on the pen pressure so that you can have some variance in your cuts. So just lightly tap it at first and then increase the pressure on your tablet as much as you can afterwards. And that's definitely something that I use quite a lot. So that's pretty much it for both the cuts as well as the scrapes. And I guess in the next one, we will actually start sculpting on the metal parts. So I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.